Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Gibran here from Roco Capital. I hope you're doing well this morning. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about what's next for the Dubai markets and even, just look at what other markets are up to as well across the world. Of course, this is an uncertain time, and uncertain time breeds fear, right? You see a lot of weaknesses in this world, but I think the older that you get, the more that you understand you have to put perspective on these things. But definitely, uncertainty makes markets even more volatile. There are a lot of trouble spots across the world. UAE and this region is definitely not one of them, right? So in a way, we're living in a bit of a bubble. There's people flowing in, there's movement, there's a lot of energy. And a lot of things happening in this city, right? But of course, it is part of the global economy, so we have to watch the markets and we have to know what's going on. So, and when we're talking about the Dubai real estate market, I'm not going to throw transactions and other boring stats at you. I want to give you a couple of different ways or angles to look at the market, and hopefully that'll add some value to you. So just really quickly, if you're looking at other markets, look at the Bitcoin crash, look at the crypto crash. It's epic. It's down 72% from its all-time highs, and we won't be surprised to see it fall even further, right? And if you look at the next leg down, that's even right there at 13,000. So, be ready. So, these kind of things could be, incredible generational buying opportunities, right? Or, you're just going to be trying to catch a falling knife, but who knows how low these things can go. So, of course, to start off with cryptos, because we've seen a huge drive in the UAE to kind of institutionalize blockchain and crypto, and I think that process is underway, and that is not going to change, right? And this industry is now in the UAE is attracting talent from all over the world, right? And so obviously we're going to see a slowdown in that activity, but that infrastructure has been set up. And so as we go through this cycle, and prepare for the next one, I think the UAE is going to come out as one of the world leaders in this space, because crypto is probably not going anywhere. If you look at other trends, of course, we can see the dollar continues to strengthen, right? And that is usually bearish for a market like UAE. And of course, it's bearish for markets in emerging markets in general. And the simple reason for that is because it makes UAE property more expensive. But there are different factors in play. But just to give you some perspective here, these were the last two down cycles we saw in the UAE market, right? And that coincided with a strengthening dollar. So that's definitely something to watch out for. And then if you're looking at global equity markets, obviously it's been an absolute train wreck. Just to give some perspective where we are right now, this is where the crash of March 2020 was. So there's still a further 37% drop that's on the cards as well, potentially, right? So the equity markets are definitely very, very weak and very, very volatile. And we're seeing the same thing even in the UAE market, which has actually started of the year actually doing really, really well. But recently we've seen, that market has also come under pressure. So what's driving a lot of these fears and uncertainties and asset revaluations is, of course, a number of factors. The first one is, of course, inflation. And we have to keep in mind that the government's priorities aren't equity valuations, right? It's price stability and employment. And so inflation must be tackled. The other trend, of course, is quantitative tightening versus quantitative easing. And so we might be seeing that other extreme play out. So if we look at interest rates from a historical perspective, we've been in the lowest cycle ever. And so when the balance sheet has to be cleaned up, there's going to be another boomerang to that cycle. And so that's one of the things that's driving even more uncertainty. So of course, interest rates are rising, and then we have wars and tensions and food and energy shocks. So it is not a great time around the world. But maybe if we're in the UAE, we're not experiencing it in the same way. Why are we not experiencing that? It's because one of the major drivers of this economy, of course, is oil, right? And so oil is at an elevated level. It continues to be so. And according to almost every expert out there, we're probably headed towards the upside rather than a correction. So, and in some extreme cases, the headlines are becoming even more scary. We saw a Bloomberg article talking about prices even hitting $380 a barrel. And so, a lot of that is coming down to the fact that there might actually not be that much oil out there, right? And so that's a bit scary. Commodity prices are still elevated. So all of that is like a perfect storm for world economies, and that's driving even more uncertainty. So I just want to point out the most obvious thing here. Of course, every box that you see here is a bull market in Dubai. In Dubai's history, right? A real estate bull market. And so you can see it's pretty much very, very correlated with higher oil prices. And so the other way to also look at it is one of the biggest bull markets Dubai ever had was the 2012 to 2014 cycle, and that was driven a lot by the Arab Spring. And now, fast forward to 2022, we are seeing a world transformed by the pandemic, and there are a number of troubling factors in play. And if you look at this world map, everything in red is a bit of a trouble spot, right? And so, whereas the Arab Spring attracted regional money, right now we're seeing much more of a global, shift of money and people as well. Ironically, the Middle East is actually one of the most stable places in the world right now. And so if you're looking at some of the major trends that are underway, we're seeing aggressive diplomacy, right? Even between Iran and Saudi Arabia as well, Turkey, of course, Syria. So, that consolidation of power of Saudi Arabia and UAE in the region, right, as the major players. The growth factor is there, right? So even in recession, it's not like the whole world goes into recession. Even the last one, China was still growing. So this region still has the capacity to grow, right? And so it has a young population, very effective governance. It could be argued the most effective type of governance for this kind of age. And then, the other factors in play are, of course, mass migration, flight to safety. And currently, the UAE offers you a world-class pool of talent, right? And labor is not so expensive here. If you look at it from a lot of different angles, housing is not overpriced if you compare it to most markets. And so, this is another way to kind of look at how the market's transformed and how that how we can easily see 1.5 million people coming. Just if you look 10 years back, this was the real estate market. Let's assume you were a buyer at that point in time in 2010 and you entered the market and you were going out for viewings. This is all the communities that were on the ground. And so if you fast forward now 12 years later, this is the market, right? So it's a huge difference. That's how much the city's grown. Okay, and this is not just people buying houses and vacant, everything's occupied. Yields are going up. This is the vision. So when you're an investor right now from all over the world, you kind of looking at this kind of transformation, and then you're kind of trying to fast forward, to 2030, 2035. That you want to ask yourself, how are you going to make a bet on this? Right. So one of the ways people make a bet on this is by buying off plan, right? Because it's almost like buying a futures contract. Right? And it's a futures contract because you are buying something which will be ready in 3 years. You might be paying the majority of that on handover, right? By just investing a little bit right now. Upon completion, it gives you a lot of options. And if we are actually witnessing a mass migration shift and transformation in the world, this is one of the best places to actually put your money because you can clearly see the advantages that this city now has and this country now has and that this region now has over many parts of the world. So one of the other things to really consider right now is the movement of big money into the UAE, right? So it is according to Bloomberg, it is the newest hedge fund hotspot. We've been seeing that over the last year and a half. And of course, infrastructure is it's not just happening overnight. Infrastructure like DFC was built like 15 years ago, right? With the NASDAQ and things like that. So now that infrastructure is in play, everything's kind of coming together. And now actually smart money is actually moving to the city. And why are they coming here? Because they're in a unique situation where the classic financial centers are disintegrating, right? So like places like Hong Kong and Singapore, and even parts of Europe, right? So fund managers are moving here, and so are the millionaires that they serve. And so, this was a viral social media post recently where the United Emirates is set to attract a net inflow of 4,000 millionaires this year. I don't know where they get that number from, but whatever it is, definitely, we know that's happening. So to attract smart money into the economy, you must be able to give them the options to hedge, and the other tools, right? Like shorting as an example. So the local equity markets have to transform, and they are transforming. So they want to transform their equity markets, and they want to do that by encouraging these large family conglomerates to list, and they're also listing their own government agencies, right? So we've seen DIWA and TCOM and SALIC. And Union Corp is going to go public very soon as well. So there's more of an encouragement to participate in that kind of economy. It brings more transparency to the economy. It opens up options for pensions and numerous other things. So this is one of the major trends underway. And I think that, if you're a resident of UAE, it's actually good to get into this market. It's actually quite easy to set up these kind of accounts on the DFM and then register as a brokerage through your local bank. So, but trying to answer the question of what's next for the markets, I don't really know. I don't think anyone really knows. But I think, my personal opinion, I think the market will stay pretty steady. I think we might have reached peak transactions potentially. And then, of course, summer's coming right now, so we're going to see some consolidation. Of course, with interest rates rising, we're going to see less finance buyers. And I think that that's totally fine. I think the market's already, the ready market's quite stable. The offline market's the one that's getting more of the headlines. And like I said, I think one of the reasons that we're seeing that inflow into offline is it's just a great future hedge as well. So we've talked about offline before as well, why there's some advantages. But I think, as a buyer in this market, if you've got cash, there's some very, very smart ways you can employ that. And so if you want to have a discussion on that or anything else that we talked about in this video, please do consider getting in touch with us. And please do like this video and subscribe to our channel if you found this content useful. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video, and we look forward to hearing from you.